Want to know how to balance intuition with instincts to effectively run your life and business? Join us for a free new mini series called Metaphysics and Your Business, where we discuss how spirituality and your business merge. Think of it as the crossroads of mundane and magical. Hey, Mystics, I'm Lisa Stewart, your intuitive business guide. It's my mission to help people find the courage to co create their magic, to grow their confidence, and their income. I've got a special guest, Kai Bertrand, who will be assisting me in leading this energy conversation for your life and business. Kai is a Hawaiian kahuna, a shaman, who is an energy healer, author, teacher, speaker, and mentor. Her specialty is removing negative energy from people, places, and things. While that sounds a little bit ominous, we'll be touching on the lighter side of spirituality. Throughout this series, we'll cover many topics: discerning between instincts and intuition, building your intuitive muscles, learning how to co create with divine signs, conjure energy to project, promote, and protect your business, divination tools to assist you in your spiritual and business growth, and so much more. Overall, it's about efficiently working with energy as a resource to sustainably grow your business. What you're about to watch is a recorded episode from our online meetup held Tuesday, August 23rd, Working with Energy. If you want to join us while we tape, head to Mystic Maker's portal on Meetup and grab a seat while it's free. The link will be in the description box. The next session is Tuesday, September 6th. The time is 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So grab a drink and sit back and enjoy the conversation. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that you are all here at Mystic Maker's portal with the inaugural session, Metaphysics and Your Business. It's going to be a mini series, but I'm not sure how many, because we have a lot to talk about. And so this could be ongoing, or it could stop after 4 or 5, 10, I don't know. So if you want to join along for the ride, that would be fabulous. Want to introduce Kai Bertrand. Kai Bertrand is a Hawaiian kahuna, a shaman. Woo! Kai is an energy healer, an author, teacher, speaker, and mentor. Her specialty is removing negative energy from people, places, and things. So for more information about her courses and her books and everything else that she offers, please check out her website, handsonfire.buzz, and I will put that information in the chat for all of you. And Kai, would you share with everybody a little bit more about you?
Sure. Thanks for inviting me, Lisa. I'm really excited to do this. This is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. What I do is I specialize basically in energy, and that is in using energy for healing, using energy to teach people about energy, really. And we're going to talk a lot about that tonight, which is the differences between positive and negative. We're also going to talk about the subtleties of energy, developing sensitivity to it, increasing awareness of it, and playing with it, because energy can actually be a lot of fun. And once you're aware of it and you're more sensitive to it, you can actually have a lot of fun with it. So we're going to cover that tonight, and it'll be interesting to see what everybody comes up with, and all the little ways that you find to entertain yourselves with energy, like I do. And then, of course, the significance of energy, because sometimes we take it for granted. And so this is an opportunity for you to really focus on it and then figure out how you can use it to your advantage in a positive way. And we're going to cover all that, as well as consequences if you don't use it in a positive way. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to cover tonight. I'm really excited. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, let's get started as soon as we can.
Thank you so much, Kai. I am like over the moon that you are here with us tonight. And I am going to see if okay, great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight myself and Kai. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm an intuitive business guide, a designer, healer, speaker, and author as well. As a lifelong intuitive, I have over 30 years of business experience. I've built several hundred products over the years and sold them worldwide. I did this, unbeknownst to me, co-creating with spirit. Today, my mission is to inspire mystics to find the courage to co-create their magic, to grow their confidence and their income. And as a professional designer by trade, I've always used my intuition to guide my life and business. And now I mentor mystics in their business, assisting them with marketing, website design, services, product development. So for more information, head to my website at cocreatemagic.com. Okay, let's get started. Now, as I said, we are kicking off this mini series of Metaphysics and Your Business with, it feels like Energy 101, doesn't it, Kai?
Yeah, I think we should start at the beginning just so that everyone understands, where we're coming from.
Yeah. And I think that after talking with Kai over several weeks and learning about energy, I discovered that as I share with my clients and how they build their audience, right? How you decide who your audience is going to be, your target market and your customer, the customer avatar and the profile and everything that you're developing. Because when you become intentional, right? And that's the key to everything. When you become intentional, then it's a matter of understanding how you're going to resonate and how you're going to attract. But after talking with Kai a couple of times, there's so much more to that, as in applying the energy that is not just going to be the foundation for who you are attracting, but also it's kind of like a sandwich, so that you can really start to craft what the energy is going to feel like when you start talking with new customers and engaging them and talking with current clients and so forth. So what is the first thing we should think about when we are starting our business, Kai?
Well, I would first say that the thing that you need to focus on very early on in the process is your intention. What I mean by that is, what do you want the business to be like? Everybody always says, well, I want it to make money, obviously. I mean, that is, the standard answer. But really, if you're looking at it from a metaphysical perspective, and if you're looking at it just in terms of having a fully successful business, then you need to look at the energy of the business. And what I mean by that is, when you think about your business, what does it feel like? We've all seen small business owners who are like, oh my gosh, day in and day out, it's the same thing. I have to do it because it's my business. This is my dream, but it's a slog. But that's not what we want. We want a business where we are excited to wake up in the morning. We feel good about it. We want to be there. We like our employees like us. We love our customers love us, and it's like, everything about the business gives us joy, even the stuff we don't really like doing the accounting stuff. We can still get through it, and we can still find joy in it. And all that is energy, all of it. That's where it starts, that's where it ends. It's all energy. So, if you have an intention that you want a business where people come in, and like if it's a brick and mortar business, a physical business, you want people to come in and feel comfortable. You want them to feel like it's home. You want them to feel like anything in there they can touch if they want to, and don't feel like they're in a museum and afraid to break things. If whatever vibe you want your place to have, that's energy. So you need to figure out, what is it that, what kind of atmosphere you want, and then you can focus on what kind of customer would respond to that kind of energy. And is that the customer that you want? Because sometimes you create an atmosphere and then you're like, what is with all these people? Why am I getting all these people? It's because you've created the wrong atmosphere and you've attracted the wrong person. That's essentially what's happened. So that's the importance of energy, is that you create the correct vibrations that you want to have the atmosphere and the people and the circumstances that will continue to grow in the way that you choose. Okay, so tonight what we're going to start with is the differences between negative energy and positive energy. And we already talked about some of that, like I said, you create this amazing atmosphere and you're like, where did these people come from and why are they here? It's because your energy that you created for the place is not correct, or is not what you expected. So this whole purpose is to get you to think about the energy and the atmosphere that you are creating on purpose.
Right. Let me just interject just a little bit and share a mundane aspect of what you're talking about. So that way you can layer your energy um, aspect on top of it. And that is when I had my brick and mortar, we designed it with a character in mind. And because the brick and mortar was featuring my art on different products, first I had original illustrations, prints, greeting cards. Then I also featured my art on jewelry. You can see pillowcases back there, novelty items like wine and beer totes and things like that. And so the idea was who's going to be walking through this shop, ideally, right? And for me, it was one of the characters from Warehouse 13, if ever anybody remembers that series. It was, yeah, such a fun series, right? H.G. Wells, that was my character that was going to walk through because we were the purveyor of leather goods and other fine art. And so eventually we were moving into steampunk. So we laid our own wooden floors. We painted the walls a nice deep red. We pulled in some IKEA furniture that was a nice deep black brown color, and we created music. We actually created lighting out of musical instruments, so that started to give that really wonderful vibe. Then I found a station on Pandora that was called like Parisian Cafe or something. So as soon as people walked in, they got a full sensory experience. They got the smell of the leather, because boy, that was a nice heady smell. They got to see the visuals of how the store was laid out. They got to walk on the floor that felt old world. The colors felt old world. The leather, it's because it's handcrafted, you've got that element of craftsmanship and the magic that goes into building each of those products. The music, when I was in the shop, would be the Parisian channel. When my husband would go in there, he would change the channel to something completely off brand. And when I would walk in, I'm like, dude, you got to change that channel back. The music isn't for us. The music is for the customer. So I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of that discord and let you play off of that.
So yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, because I mean, music is one of the things that people respond to most, because I mean, that it starts in the womb, because your eyes are closed, obviously. And so one of the things that we respond to most is physical vibration, which a lot of times is sound. Like mother's heartbeat is one of the first things that we recognize as when we're in the womb. So yeah, so the music thing makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, and that contributes to the energy. Like everything that you layer with that contributes to the energy. So it's like, oh, it has this atmosphere of, and that's what atmosphere is. It's a immersion into this experience of energy. And so yeah, you get that when you walk into stores. At least you don't necessarily do that with department stores with you, but you do get that with specialty stores. You walk in and you feel like you're immersed in whatever it is that they've created for you, and that's what they want. They want you to have like the full sensory experience, which is you get the smell of something, the visuals, hearing something, and depending if it's like a food shop, then of course they add taste, and then of course they modulate temperature with the air conditioning to make sure that you're at a certain temperature at the same time. So that's a feel thing. So engaging all your senses. So yeah. So back to the differences between negative and positive energy. So first off, I would like to say that energy in and of itself is neutral. Okay. The thing that makes it either negative or positive is intention. So if you intend for something to be positive, like this, like I'm trying to do this and the energy I'm putting into it is positive, then it will be positive. So speaking of that, when you are working on something like your business plan, like your accounting, all the stuff about your business that you don't like doing for whatever reason, and whatever it is, you have to remember not to do the God, I hate doing this. This is horrible. This is the worst thing ever. I don't ever want to do this stuff, blah, blah. Don't do that. Don't grumble your way through it. Why? Because it's energy. and you're putting that energy aspect into that thing that you already don't like, you're just going to make it worse. So what you want to do is, if you really, really hate doing something, then do yourself and your business a favor and delegate it.
100%. 100%. Because that will offset that energy.
Yeah. And then focus all your time and your energy into the things that you love doing.
Absolutely.
Because what that can do is then that actually radiates out and spreads to all other aspects of your business. So that's really what you want to do. I mean, I know for most entrepreneurs, like, you're doing everything, and that's just the way it works. But, you know, just keep that in mind. Like, the things that you really, really love, like, just go whole hog on those things and enjoy the heck out of those things while you do them. And the things that you don't like so much, if you can, as soon as possible, delegate them. Because if not, that will affect your business. Okay.
It really will.
Now, positive energy can be, I guess, garnered or gathered in different ways. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not like you have to be like, oh, positive energy, positive energy, positive. You don't have to do that all the time. Okay. It's a matter of, okay, this is how it's going to go. This is it. This is what I want. And this is going to be a positive experience for everybody who comes in. Everybody who deals with me is going to have a positive experience, you know, as much as possible. You know, fate is another story. You can't help that. But, you know, just do the best you can as far as creating an atmosphere where people find you approachable, and that the people that you want to come to you will come to you. That's the intention that you set for your business.
Exactly.
And as far as negative stuff is concerned, you can say, you know what, negative people, negative situations, you know, you can just slide right on by and act like I'm not even here. You know, set that intention that negative things, if it's not for your highest good, can just keep going. I mean, because there are some things that, you know, at the time we feel is negative, and later on turns out to be one of the greatest lessons that we live. And so, you know, we cannot say, well, you can certainly try, it's not going to work, you know, that you never want anything bad to happen to you. That's just not that's not real life. Right. You can say the things that are not necessary for your growth, that is not for your highest good, that those things just pass you by. Right. And they will, you know, as long as you don't attract them. That's the key. So that's the basic difference between negative and positive, and how you can, and getting into discerning the difference. Part of that is awareness, not just of yourself, of your surroundings. Right. A lot of us are really preoccupied. We're always thinking 3 steps ahead. You know, I might be here doing this, but somebody's like, okay, did I cook dinner? I gotta put the thing in the wash. I gotta wash the dishes. What happened to the dog? Where's the kid? You know, all this other stuff that's running through your mind. And you're not really paying attention to what's happening right at the moment. Right. And if you're going to focus on energy, you need to do that. You need to, like, take a look at, where am I right now, and what is my circumstances right now? And when you start to do that, you start to notice things. Like, you start to notice, okay, well, so for instance, you walk to the grocery store and you're just picking up stuff and you're going through it. But if you pay attention to the energy, you can easily discern, okay, that couple has been fighting. You know, that guy over there, he seems like he's in pain. That little kid is about to start crying any minute because the mom is going to tell him, no, he can't have that toy. Yeah. You know, something. And you can pick up the energy of all that, because it feels like this little, like, tension. And then all you have to do is just kind of focus in on it, and you can identify it. That doesn't mean you go around staring at people, but it does mean that you can, you know, if you just pay attention, just kind of like watch them out of the corner of your eye and just get a feel for it, you'll figure it out. And then you realize that energy is all around us all the time. Yeah.
I've learned to do that with the team members, the employees of grocery stores, the way they're opening boxes. If they're ripping them open, I'm like, I have a question, but I'm going to go find somebody else.
Exactly. Or even like, like the one who's like, they look like they might help you, but they're like slowly putting things on the shelves, like, oh my God, I can't wait for the end of the day. Kind of like, those are not the people you ask questions of, right?
Yep.
But inevitably, I go to the grocery store and that's exactly the person that someone will stop and ask them a question.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you not paying attention? This person is ready to go home. Don't ask them anything.
I made the mistake one time when I was living in North Carolina. I was walking into a grocery store because I specifically needed mint for my chocolate mousse I was making. And walked into the produce area, and the guy was unpacking vegetables and leafy greens. And I said, "Hey, do you have any mint?" And he's like, "No, where do you think you are, Harris Teeter?" I'm like, "Oops." Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. It's like we have to become more aware of the energy around us. And the thing is, once you learn about this kind of stuff and you start practicing it, it can help you in all aspects of your life,
Mhm.
not just your business. It'll be the thing where like you walk into like, if you happen to go anywhere and you walk in the room and you walk up to somebody and like you immediately feel like something is off, then you can pay attention to what's happening and be on your guard in case something happens.
Mhm.
And if you get the urge to leave, obey that urge and leave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can
You know,
I
you
just
didn't go
can I
ahead.
just share the difference between instincts, intuition, and ego for those who don't know, and for those who might be listening on the replay? So I shared this on Instagram the other day, and instincts really are it's a way to look for threats, and your intuition is to look for the next right step. And ego, ego's a pessimist. Ego is a naysayer. Ego just likes to talk smack about everybody else. So if you're walking past a dark alley and you start feeling tingles up your spine, it's probably your instincts. And if you find yourself in a fortuitous situation, it's probably your intuition. And if your ego starts talking smack to the person next to you, it's time to like shut that down and keep moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And then, the other thing is like your ego will also sabotage you.
Yeah.
When you start to do something and then, you'll start to hear like, oh, what are you doing? You can't do that. You're not smart enough for that.
Yeah.
You're not good enough for that or some nonsense.
Yeah.
When you start to think those types of thoughts as well, that's your ego kind of jumping in and yeah, you can, do your best to ignore that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so we've covered, the differences between discerning the differences, increasing your awareness of it. And, I just told you that you can walk around and do different things. And that's how you increase your awareness of it. Like pay attention to how things feel.
Mm.
For instance, like I was at a psychic fair this weekend and it was a 2-day fair. The first day, Saturday, when the morning started, it was fine. The energy felt okay. And then at some point, the energy in the place went haywire.
Mm.
And it was just a weird day for me. Like the people seemed a little strange, and some of the practitioners were kind of off their game. And it was just, and I'm not sure. I didn't investigate why it was off, which is something that I normally would have done, but I didn't. Because I was off that day.
Mm.
Um, and but then the next day, it was actually fine. Like there was no problem. Energy was as I expected it to be and was a lot smoother. Um, the previous day, the energy had this weird, discordant, almost jagged quality to it. And I kept telling people that all day. I'm like, the energy in here is weird. The energy is weird. But I never bothered to define it, which, like I said, is not usually like me. But
I wonder if there was a practitioner who left or if there was another event going on in the same area that wasn't going on Sunday. No
I don't
idea.
know. I don't know what it was. And like I said, normally I will energetically investigate such things because I'm nosy like that. It's kind of,
Well,
well, it's
you're a
it's fun for
kahuna.
me.
That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun for me. It's like a game, like, oh, what's that? Kind of stuff. But yeah, I never bothered to check it out. And then Sunday was fine. But it's one of those things where as soon as you become aware of energy, then you notice when things are not normal. It's that thing like when you walk in the room and you're like, something's going on here. You might not know what it is. And most people dismiss that. They're just like, oh, I'm probably imagining it, or I'm tired, or, you know, pick an excuse. It doesn't even matter.
Right.
The point is that once you become aware of it, start acknowledging it and looking at it and saying, okay, well, what is that? Is it generated by some circumstance, or is it generated by a particular person?
Yeah, I remember this is a really good touch point that I use when a lot of people who don't think that they're intuitive is when you walk into a room right after two people have had an argument. Anybody who's human, who's sentient, knows what that feels like. And for me, you know, you see these two people, they're kind of, you know, shoulder to, you know, giving each other the cold shoulder. You know, they close their mouth when I walk in, and then I almost feel like the air between them is so thick that you could cut it with a knife. And how many times have we said that in our lives? And to me, that was a really keen touch point that allowed me to start then becoming more sensitive to energy.
And it's also the you know, another example of that is like when you feel like two people have just like had a little funny conversation, and you know that they both enjoyed, and then you walk in and you're like, I missed something. What did I miss? Like,
Yeah.
what was that? You know, it's that same thing because you sense it. You don't know what it is or what it has to do with, but you sense it. And it's becoming aware of those sensitivities, like just like paying attention, like when that kind of stuff happens, so that, you know, it's kind of like, and I know anybody who drives, you have this sense like you're driving along and there's a car next to you, and you just know that that car next to you is going to cut in front of you any minute.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. It's like you don't know how the guy, he doesn't have his signal on or nothing, but you just know.
Yeah.
There's
I'm like, Andrew, watch that guy. Watch that guy.
Yeah, it's because the energy changes, and you're getting the energy of his intention that he's going to change lanes. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your intuition giving you the next right step. And a little mix of instinct as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's the whole purpose of this talk today is so you can develop a sensitivity to things, pay attention to things. And that comes into the whole process of, you know, what's becoming popular as mindfulness, which is, you know, staying present, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all that stuff is great, you know, but it's
Did you
really
use blah, 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 mindfulness?
blah, 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 mindfulness, blah, blah, blah. I mean, because sometimes it's like this lofty, you know, concept. It's just like mindfulness. Like, you know, what does that actually mean? You know, it literally means to pay attention. That's what it means.
Yeah. Yeah, because it dictates your circumstances, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like one of the things I hate about watching movies sometimes, and we've all seen movies like this where the main character is gonna go do something like heading into like the dark alley, and you're like, no.
Yep. Yep.
And it's because like our instincts are like, do you not understand that you could die? Do you not understand the danger?
I thought it was just bad writing.
Oh, no. I was just like,
yeah.
You know, I'm standing there and I'm like, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because instinctively we know that this is not bad. This, you know, this is not good. And
what's fascinating about those characters too is that I can usually tell just by, and I don't know if it's the energy or if it's the writing, but suddenly I'm going, oh, you're gonna die. You're gonna die in this episode. I know it.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm just like, oh, you're a goner. It's like they're writing you out, man.
What did you do?
Yeah, we're like, yeah, you're gone.
Yep.
So but yeah, so just be more aware of stuff. And then once you can kind of get that far, like being conscious of the energy that's around you, then comes the fun part, because then you can start paying attention to other things, like the energy of not just a room, but the energy of a business, and specifically your business. So for instance, if you have, even if it's like a pop-up thing where you just doing it for a couple of days, like when you walk into your booth space, into your area, what does it feel like? Set your space. Like metaphysical practitioners will do that by clearing their space with sage or sprays or crystals or rocks, or in my case, just energy. Some people don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
If you have a brick and mortar though, that should be part of your thing. Like when people come through your door, what do they feel like? You basically want them to leave whatever their troubles are at the door, basically, and step into your atmosphere, your world, where they feel comfortable and they feel like spending money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are, so that's part of the intention of the energy that you want to build, that you have the products that they need to buy,
Right.
and that they want to get them from you.
Or they didn't know they needed to buy.
Exactly. Like there's something that they didn't know they needed, but they do now, and they're taking it home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what you want. And so again, with the playing with and experimenting with it, it's like you can do this with plants, because everything is energy, everything has energy, but it's easier to detect in things that are alive. So if you have plants or trees or animals, you can actually try to discern like each thing's, what I would call, an energy signature.
Yeah.
Everything feels like its own thing. So, and when you get really good at it, you can be, like myself and friends of mine. I trained with a bunch of people doing energy work, and we were with each other almost every day, every week for years. And it got to the point where I could close my eyes and turn my back, and they could come in the room and stand in a spot, and I could tell you who was where without looking at them.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
I knew their energy signature so well.
That's fabulous.
And of course, it takes a long time to get to that point, but you could easily do this with like a plant. So if you like line up 3 plants, and you can work with them, and then you can figure out which plant is which with your eyes closed, just by feeling the energy of them. So that's one way you can play with that if you want to. You can actually feel the same thing with trees. Like, so if you spend a lot of time in parks that have different kinds of trees, you can just kind of stand in the middle between them, and and just make sure that you can't figure out what direction it is, and figure out which are the pine trees and which are the other kinds of trees, and try to identify them that way, because they all have different signatures.
Oh, that would be fun. We've got the Ballard Locks. It's just 2 blocks from us here in Seattle. And in addition to the locks, there's what's called the Carl English Gardens. And he was given money to go around the world and collect specimens. So there are all kinds of trees there and all kinds of plants. So that would be a really fun experiment to do down there.
Yeah, yeah. And because you can even if all you had was like a rose garden, you can distinguish between the different roses, because they're all different.
Very cool. And they also have a rose garden there. So I'll be down there tomorrow.
Yeah. So, and then as far as, if you happen to frequent metaphysics shops, you can go up to the stones, and you can feel the different stones, and even the different vibe. And if you're really good at it, you can actually take like a bunch of stones from the same thing. So say you take a bunch of selenite, like maybe 3 or 4 selenites, put them all down, and then you'll feel the difference between each one of the selenites. That's how sensitive you can get to it.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I remember you demonstrating with me at the first psychic fair back in May. where you had me kind of discern the stones, and that was a really fun exercise. So
Yeah. I would say for people who are practicing metaphysics, like that's probably the best place to start, is to start with stones and crystals, because they inherently emit energy. And like other stuff, I mean, I mean, you can do that with anything, because everything, according to quantum physics, is made from energy. So literally everything has an energy signature. But like I said, things that are alive or things that are natural in nature, and not like manufactured in some way, their energy signature is stronger and is easier to detect for people who are not as experienced and not used to it. So yeah, so that's the thing. So yeah, so that's playing with it, experimenting with it. I would say just have fun with it, like just try different things. Even if all you have is like a pencil and a pen, see if you can close your eyes and tell the difference between them, because there will be a difference. And now we get to the other part about the significance of it. And the significance of energy is that because everything is made of energy, and if you are not paying attention to it, you could actually get caught up in the intention of someone else. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, you have a brick and mortar business, and you've got this person who, without necessarily meaning to, decides to become disruptive. So their energy, their intention will automatically take control of whatever energy is there. Unless your intention was already set. So in other words, like if your intention is set, then no one else, like someone else's disruptive intent, is not going to be able to mess with that. But if you're wishy-washy about your intent, and someone else is razor sharp with their intent, guess what's going to happen? So you have to be very, very clear with your intentions. And what I mean by clear is you need to be specific.
Yeah, I thought that when I set up my brick and mortar, that my intention was clear, but I was not awake at that point. And so, by choosing the wood floors, choosing the paint, choosing the sound, the smells, all of that, making the flow of the pathways for the customers to negotiate around was all very intentional. But setting the energetic intention is what I lacked. And living in the South, it was a different ball of wax. And so their intentions were stronger than my intentions. And so it goes. So I wish that I had known this 7 years ago.
Well, but you learned an important lesson from it. And it's a mistake that you won't be making again.
Oh no.
So that, that goes back to the, we can't prevent all bad things from happening to us. And sometimes the things that happen to us happen for our highest good.
Right. Like moving to Seattle. Right. So absolutely.
So that's the significance of having intention drive your energy. It's important that you understand that, because like I said, with energy, especially for something that's important to you, you can't be wishy-washy about it.
No,
you really can't. Because if you are, because there are people, and we all know this, there are people out there who thrive on chaos. And will do everything they possibly can to create as much chaos as possible. So your intention has to be just as powerful, just as focused about the kind of atmosphere you have, the kind of, employees you have, the kind of customers you have, who's going to be attracted to your business, and to a certain degree that your business will be protected. And we're going to talk more about that as far as shielding in the next episode, because that is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And if we need to talk about intention here so that when we get to the next one, we can actually work on shields, because shields are built on intention.
Right.
And if you're wishy-washy about your intention, yeah, your shields are not going to hold up against anything.
Right. Right. And I think this really couples well with when you are creating a business. Optimally, you want to create a vision for your business, and then you want to create a mission. So the vision is really where you want to go, and the mission is how you're going to get there. So when you use both of those in tandem as you're setting your intention, then the energetic influence will happen to infuse in all the work that you're doing to help it razor sharp. So yeah, I like where we're going with this.
Yeah, yeah. And so, part of the consequences of not having razor sharp intention and not being conscious of the energy that you're producing and infusing into your business could mean that, you get employees that are confused all the time. You get customers that are confused and don't know what you offer, what you're trying to do, and it brings in a sense of chaos
It
to your
does.
business.
Mm-hmm.
And even if your business is an online business, you're going to get like flooded with questions because people don't understand what you're trying to say.
Right.
There's a lot of communication errors that can happen when your energy is all chaotic and not razor sharp.
Yeah.
Because,
You bring up a good point, Kai, because that's something else that I love to teach my clients, and that is building a brand framework. You can't market without it because you don't know what you're going to be saying in your marketing. And if you don't know what you're going to say, you certainly can't pass it on to your employees or your partners. So again, I love how these work with each other so well.
yeah, it's important to have that continuity, because everything, just like in when you do a regular business planning, right? You have your business plan. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Like everything flows from one thing to the next thing, and you want the energy of your business to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my intention for my business. I'm going to have this kind of a business. These are the people that I want. These are the people who are going to love what I do and keep coming back over and over and tell their friends and be willing to write me reviews.
Right.
And give me testimonies on whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, this is how my, the energy now goes over here to, this is how my business is going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
This is how much money I'm going to make from it, yada, yada, yada. All this kind of stuff that all flows with intention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and at this point, I would like to have some partners if it's in the best interest of my business and for my highest good.
Right.
Everything that you do has to be, I guess, include for my highest good.
Right.
Because sometimes, especially when we're talking about money, we get caught up in the money. Yeah. But if we focus on the energy and the love we have for our business and the gratitude we have for our business and our people and our customers and all the good things about it,
yeah,
the money will actually be attracted to that and come along with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That doesn't mean to say that you don't, do all the business stuff. Like, if you're going to have a sale or a markdown, or if you're going to raise your prices, or, do all the business stuff as you're supposed to, but add the energy component, and then things will actually be a lot smoother than you think.
Absolutely. When I also talk about building the brand framework, I talk about that spark, which is your why, right? And when you're crystal clear on your why, then you're crystal clear on that energy. And there was something that you said back a few sentences ago, and I don't recall what it was, but it also brought up the idea of pillars. So what I recommend to my clients is also to create your values for your business. And then out of those values, you may have, like IKEA, for instance, has 12 values. But for many businesses, they don't have that many. they might have 6 or 7. And then from that, they'll choose their pillars. And the pillars can be maybe 3 to 4 pillars. Those pillars are clearly marked for the partners and the employees. And what those pillars do is they help you decide what's for your highest good. So when we're looking at this over here going, oh, this would be really cool to include in my business, I'm going to do that. But then you have to go back and review your pillars and say, does this align with one of the 4 pillars that I set out for this business? Will this build a stronger foundation, or is it going to be just a distraction?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, is that, you do have to have, and then there's a dog. You
distraction.
Yeah, distraction. You have to have a plan in mind. And the thing is, like, once you set your intention about what you want your business to be based upon, like this is the core of my business. These are the values that I want to have in my business. Then part of the intention is with these core values, employees that work for me, these are the same values that they have. The people who are coming to shop here or coming to work with me or for me or whatever, these are the things that they value as well. So then that way, other people who are not interested in those things, they just keep going, right? Because they're they don't value those things. So that's part of the reason why you not only have like these concepts, that are the pillars, but you also, like, this is your energy basis upon which everything else that you are building will stand.
Exactly. Yeah. And another point I wanted to make inside of what you were just saying that I think is important, and that is the values that you hold for your business are going to resonate with the people who find you and say, okay, great, I want to do business with you because your values align. And what does that look like? Maybe you're sustainable. Maybe you love rescuing animals. Maybe you want to plant a tree for every dollar that you make, whatever that is. And then, of course, the people who don't resonate with that go, no, I need to go buy some tchotchkes from China. I'm going over here to Walmart. Fine, go to Walmart, have a nice day. But another thing that's super important that a lot of business owners get mixed up is when I hold workshops for business owners to develop their brand framework, they're by and large the salt of the earth DIYers. They're like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm not going to hire an agency. A, I can't afford an agency, and B, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to grow organically. But the thing that they miss, by and large, that I have to remind them of is just because you're DIY doesn't mean that your client is. So be very mindful of your intention from that aspect. So for instance, when they say, well, my customer can't afford X, and I'm like, that's not up to you to determine what your customer can afford. It's what value are you bringing, so that you attract the right customers, because the Walmart customer is different from the yacht shopping customer. They have different values. And so the Walmart customer might be a DIYer, but is the product that you are designing and developing, is it a take-home project, or is it already a project that's finished and you're just taking it home to display? So those are the nuances, again, when it comes to the energetic conversation and messaging that you're putting out there.
Yeah. And it's just really important to pay attention to all the little things like that, because sometimes we get wrapped up in, oh, that's so exciting, oh my gosh, that's so cool, or that's so cute, or oh my gosh, all that stuff. And really, you have to kind of reel it back in and just say, well, okay, does this fit in with what I want to do? That doesn't mean that you can't experiment.
Right.
If like, if you want to try something, like, just like, well, this doesn't really fit what we're doing here, but let's just try it. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. Yeah. But if once you have your base upon which, to build everything else on, and then you want to try something different,
Mhm.
at least add something a little different, or, or something that's similar or whatever, you can experiment. That's the cool part about having your own business, is that you can expand in any kind of way that you feel is necessary. As
Yeah.
long as you have that jumping off point, you got to have that base, right? So once you start with the base, got your intention set, what kind of people that is the bread and butter of your business kind of
Mhm.
deal,
Mhm.
and you can move on to like, hey, maybe we'll expand in this way. And then what you do with that is, once you get this part set up, and then you want to try to do something else, then you set another intention for something else to see how that grows. So then, of course, you're juggling two different things. But for people who are entrepreneurs, like, that's kind of the mindset. Like, like you don't just stick to one thing. You do want to expand. So I want you to have, you know understand that is possible, that it's not, you're not locked into anything, that
Mhm.
you can continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you are contained within those four pillars, and then of course being mindful of maybe that one pillar no longer serves you. So then it's a matter of tweaking, but it's intentional, right? That tweaking is intentional. So always being, going back from the very beginning, being mindful, right? Paying attention to what's working and what isn't working, discerning and increasing your awareness of that energy, no matter what it looks like in your business. Let it be customers, let it be products that you're creating, services that you're creating. Do they resonate?
And be honest with yourself, because if you start to do something and you realize, this isn't working, it's not doing what I thought it was going to do,
mhm,
there's a couple different ways you can look at it. Either, number one, I wasn't specific enough in the attention for this thing,
yeah,
or or it just doesn't fit with the rest of what I have going on,
right.
and I need to let go of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And to bounce off that point, and it's something that I share with everybody here, is to launch it messy. So just because you're launching a new product doesn't mean it's going to work out right away, right out of the gate. It's a matter of maybe testing it with a few beta clients, right? And letting them know, saying, hey, I'm thinking about starting this thing. Would you be interested? Can you help me as a customer work through this and let me know what works for you and what doesn't work for you so you can make a better product? And inside those conversations, you'll probably discover that it's a product that you just need to chuck because your customers just don't want it. Or they're like, oh my God, yes. Oh my God, we've been waiting for this. So have those conversations and then move accordingly.
Yeah, so at this point, I just want to know, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody, specifically about your business, or about energy in general, or, sky's the limit. I mean, what we did here was just pretty pared down version of energy. So, just energy description. So if there's anything you want to know about energy in general, or about what I do, some of the
Yeah.
crazy stuff I do, launch away, ask
Yeah.
away.
The chat is open and you can unmute yourselves as well. But if you want to raise your hands, and we'll start the questions with people in line. We'd love to start a conversation. We'd like to know how you feel about what we've talked about so far.
Yeah, anything you want to ask, go for it.
Susie, step on up.
Unmute. I think I'd like to dive a little bit into that energy of, it's okay to shift up, to change. If we could talk about that, like maybe some of those things that hold us back. Because I was at the same event with you, Kai, and I'm looking at my table just going, God, that's so busy. But it still drew people. But what other shifting up? I know there's going to be things when I have a different table size. Where am I going with this? Giving oneself permission to shift.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that that's important, because, I mean, as business owners, we have to be able to pivot anyway,
Mhm.
because we have to be able to go with whatever's happening currently in our situations. And, you know, and as we're doing events like, like we did this weekend, that, we have to be prepared for, okay, am I gonna do this? Because yeah, your table had a lot of stuff on it, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as it's you felt like it was organized and people would not be overwhelmed by what they saw. Because I think that is the crucial point about when you go to like fairs and things like that, is there's so much stuff in the booth that it's literally like overwhelming.
Yeah.
So as long as you're conscious of that, I think it's fine, so you can change your configuration any way you feel like. Like one of the other practitioners that was there, she normally has a table in front and all the stuff, is like in front of, so that people don't actually get to step into the booth. And she changed it up and people were actually able to go in to the booth. So it was a much more welcoming space for, the space that she had. So as a business owner, there's nothing wrong with mixing it up. And by doing so, you do change the energy. So you have to be conscious of like, okay, what do I want this space to say? Like my personal booth, like I always have a table between me and the client because I want to say, I'm respecting your space, you're respecting my space. And if I need to, I'll walk around and, we'll get in each other's space then. But for right now, we're going to keep this distance because, it's a matter of respect and it's a matter of, I want you to know that we're doing this in a business-like manner so that we can, we can create whatever intention we need to together in a respectful way without us crowding each other.
Yeah, Kai, I think you bring up a really good point. And I think the one word we haven't spoken today about is boundaries. And I think that, the fact that you have the table between you and the client creates that boundary. So that way, then you can integrate your energies when necessary. And Susie, I can't tell you how many trade show tables, booths I've had. And I find that when I create visual space, like I empty the real estate, right? It's the tabletop, that real estate. And when I recognize that my brand new trade show was the Psychic Fair in May, I recognized that I was going to be laying out cards and I needed space for that. So I wanted to make sure I didn't clutter the sides. Maybe a couple of things off to the side, but maybe is it an easel or another kind of stand that allows me to put product on so I can keep the real estate for the client on the other side of that table. Because I knew that I was only going to do mini readings. So that was 2 card readings. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm also going to do a free reading for a lucky individual. So stick around. But for me, I was only doing a 2 card reading. But for you and Kai, you can lay out mammoth spreads for people, right? And so do you have enough room? And when you give that visual room to your client has room to breathe and think and lean into what it is you're telling them and sharing them with spirit. And so, yeah, it is about giving enough visual space so that they can breathe. And then also, if things get stale, I've many times, I have to be hands off on my tabletop. So like, as long as I have space, that's great. But I want to make sure that I'm not fussing over here, fussing over there, and creating this nervous, chaotic energy that doesn't resonate with people who are walking by. And so I've seen people do that too. It's like, I'm bored, so I'm going to do this over here. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep walking. So be mindful of your energy sitting at the table as well.
Yeah, when I set up my table, I set it up and then I might maintain it. So like if somebody moves a book to a different spot, then I'll put it back in that same spot.
Yeah.
But I don't fuss with it. I just leave it.
Yeah.
Like I set it up, I set the energy for it, and I'm done. I don't mess with it for the rest of the day because, I figure out where the best places for things are. Usually I actually do my books so that they all face inward so that people are drawn to the center of it.
Yeah.
And all their eyes are drawn right into like this little horseshoe action.
Mhm.
And, you know, and then the cards are over here. So it's almost like I've created like zones, right? Is what I do with my table. So then that way it's like, okay, this is the book section. Over here is where, you know, the magic happens with the cards. And then maybe at the end, I might have my sign or, you know, and a box of tissues because inevitably somebody's crying at my table.
I thought
And
that was just Susie's table.
oh, no. Yeah. I get people after I do a reading, they're like sobbing or something. So I'm like, here's a tissue. And then, you know, so it just depends on how much space I have. And then I will, so yeah. And it's the same thing. Like if you have a store, it's like, this section is for this, you know, it's like, it's a matter of organization and and you're also creating a flow. Like how is the energy flowing through?
Mhm.
And, you know, even if you just have one table, like where do you want the person to start? Like if they're coming to the table, you know, it's like, think of it like a buffet table, right? You always start at the end where the plates are. So if you're looking at your table or your display, where are the plates? Like where did they start?
Yeah.
And where do you want them to end up?
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so you create that flow by how you arrange things and where you put things. And like if you know, if you got some shiny things, where do you want to put the shinies?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. It's like, think about the layout of things and where you're going to put them.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And a couple of things. One, when you do your tables, like you do different displays throughout your shop, you're effectively showcasing. And when you're showcasing and arranging different elements, like I would arrange the 6-pack totes with the wine and then do maybe a little individual beer bottle tote, things like that. And each of those elements had their own energy. And then they would create this wonderful little tight atmosphere with each other. And what I liked at your table, Kai, is that when I walked up to it from a visual standpoint, especially from a graphic design standpoint, I've learned that you have these wayfare signs, right? It's like, you know, go this way to go to Pinocchio land and this way for Mickey Mouse land. And for you, I noticed that your zones that you had set up, you say it's a horseshoe, but it almost looked like an arrow. So that when I sat down, I saw the angles pointing towards you, but they weren't at you. They were off to each side. So that way it wasn't a feng shui no, but it was, you were almost enforcing me to look at you, you know, and I would look at you and I would play with the book over here and then I'd look at you again. So it was very intentional. And I love the way you set that up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do that. What else, Susie?
You still have your hand up, Susie.
Because I don't know how to put it down.
In more ways than one. I'm teasing. I love to tease.
So does anybody have any other questions? You know, feel free. It's okay. Whatever you want to ask, even if it's a little strange, go for it.
We like strange. Well, okay. I'm gonna clip that one out.
Yeah, I was like, careful.
Yeah. No, we like weird. I know. That's right, Susie. I always put my foot in my mouth. What I would love, okay. Once you compose yourself. Okay, yep. Compose. What I would love, Kai, if it would be okay, to share my experience with you when we walked through the mansion together a couple of weeks or so ago when I was discerning energy.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So 2 weeks ago, there was I want to call it the Renaissance Fair, but it wasn't. It was the Spiritualist Fair in Puyallup, right? Was it Puyallup? So that's south of Seattle, for those of you who don't know. And it was in this old historic home. And I think it was the architecture, I think was Second Empire. Beautiful home. It was called the Meeker Mansion. And My intention was to head down there with Susie and Kai and just kind of hang out and check out other practitioners. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a reading or not, but I also wanted to check out the house. And then, of course, whenever Kai's around, I'm like, hey, can you help me discern this energy? And boy, talk about buffet. I got to experience so many energies down there that were encapsulated in this one house. It was a phenomenal experience. So I got to feel the energy of angels, ghosts, spirits who'd lived there before, spirits who were visiting, little nasties in the fireplace, and also spirit guides. Is that it, Kai? Is that all that I felt there?
That was pretty much it. I mean, that was quite a bit though.
It
That
was.
little tiny space.
Yeah, it really was. It was so concentrated. And I'm a dork. Whenever Kai says, hey, would you like to meet an angel? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, okay, here you go. And I'm like, what? I don't feel anything. I'm like a complete and utter idiot. And so of course the angel's like, right? Yeah, human. All right, one day. So in that house, I got to discern all of them, and I know what it feels like for me now. And it was the most incredible, blissful experience I ever had. So for instance, for me, when I got to feel the angel kind of move between floors, it almost felt like, how you sweat, and then I know it's disgusting, sorry. When you sweat and then you get the chills, that's what it felt like on my skin. It was really neat. And then I didn't know that I could feel other people's spirit guides. And for me, the spirit guides were very, very smooth. So if you think of a palm stone or something very like a very, very smooth crystal, that's what it felt like. And I could feel them hovering behind a reader. And then I could also feel the tension. So it was really fun to have Kai walk through with me so that I could validate, because it was immediately validation and confirmation for me that I was feeling what I was feeling, and I wasn't just making this shit up. And so, I'm like, I only feel partial angel, because like Kai, you tell me that angels are like, what, 8 feet tall? Is that right?
They can be. I mean, some of them are smaller, some of them are taller. They choose their appearances. So, they vacillate. So sometimes they're just like regular human sized, but sometimes they can be like, when you look at them, they can be 8 to 10 feet tall.
Yikes. So that's what I felt. And it's kind of interesting. So I'm imagining like an angel looking like a human being, and his feet are down below the floor and his head is above the floor, and then he's just being goofy. But because I couldn't see him, not sure, what his or their what their purpose was. I mean, I kind of figure that the purpose was to kind of watch out for the rest of us, but it was really fun to be able to feel only the partial angel, and then contrast that against the nasties that were hanging out in the fireplace, and then the guides that were the nasties. They felt like glass, or they felt more like this Pyrex crystal here, right? They felt really, really sharp and glassy. The spirit guides felt really, really smooth. And then the spirits hanging out, and this is really interesting to me, because that's an energy I have felt before and didn't know. I kind of thought that all spirits, angels, nasties, spirit guides, everything, I thought they all felt the same. And that day I got to learn that they don't. And I also got to learn what they feel like. What's interesting is that then this goes and helps me kind of refer back to the things that I experienced as a kid. When I was opening my shop, this is interesting. 2 things. One, I had a spirit waft by me when I was in the shop alone. And most frequently I was in the shop alone. And I could smell musk. And I got this sensation of comfort and welcome. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so what I intuited from the spirit that kind of wafted through was, he's been around for at least 100 years, because it was in the historic area. and it was an old farmer's market. So he used to be a merchant there, and he liked what we did, and he would hang out and protect me if needed. And I think a couple times he came to our rescue. So this was really cool. But the opening day, I was the perfectionist and I needed to wash the windows and the outside windows. Normally stores and malls and things like that already have a service in place, but we had an absentee landlord, and so we had to do everything ourselves. So I'm like, all right, opening day, I'm going to go out with a big extension ladder. Of course, this is on cobblestone. I'm going to erect the ladder in front of my shop, and I'm going to climb up and I'm going to wash the top windows. I felt myself starting to rock. And I'm sitting there like this, going back and forth, and I'm like, oh shit. And suddenly I felt two hands kind of push me and the ladder back to stabilize us. And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting the hell down. So off the ladder I went. I'm like, I can wash these windows later. Now, up until 3 years ago, even a year ago, I thought it was just a spirit, right? Chances are it was probably an angel. Kai, you want to weigh in?
Actually, I think it might have been an angel, but I'm kind of getting the feeling like it was the guy, the ghost that was there, helping you. I think that's who it was, is my sense of it. Yeah, and don't forget, when we were at Meeker Mansion, we kept passing a room that kept smelling cigar past that same room.
Yeah. Well, that was at the top of the stairs, right? And so what I was thinking, and I think you confirmed it, is that it was one of the previous owners of the house who was just kind of, drifting back and forth, just looking to see who's coming up the stairs and who's walking down the stairs. And the other interesting thing was, you told me when we were walking down the stairs, I got down to maybe the fourth or fifth stair. And what did you say? Not watch the boundary. What did you say?
I don't know. I told you to stop for a minute because there was something on the stairway that was about to mess with you or something. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, well, now you did not tell me that.
I thought something like that. I can't remember. I just remember telling you to stop.
Right. And we had people coming up and down the stairs. And so I thought you asked me to stop so that there weren't any people on the stairwell, so that I could feel the energies on the stairs, whatever energy that might be. I didn't know somebody was going to mess with me, because somebody did mess with me later on that day. But what I thought was interesting is that at the fourth or fifth step, I stopped and I'm like, did I just walk through something? And you're like, yeah, it was some kind of barrier. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's because, that house has a lot of energy, because it has lots of events that happen there. And so people who come through there, they leave a lot of energy. They promote a lot of energy. And so and the shield that was up could have been put up by one of the practitioners to try to cut down on the noise, or, because everybody was congregating at the bottom of the stairs. And so all the noise would be shooting straight up the staircase. Yeah. And might have been bothering somebody. So the lady who, the women who were in the room at the top of the stairs might have put that there to cut down on the noise.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, learning one more thing about shields. That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, is there anything else I wanted to share about that day? That was just a magnanimous day. Does anybody else have any questions on that experience or anything else? Or do you want to share your own spiritual experiences?
Or if you have any questions about your specific business, like what you can do for your specific business, that would be okay too. We still have time.
Yeah. Sue, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Is there such a thing as the intention of the business that you're creating itself? Because I feel like I'm just the passenger in this business that has started to evolve, right? Like my intention was to create something else, but I don't know if this is an addition to what I'm trying to create, or it's like, okay, no, this is the bus you should be driving. What are you doing over there? So is there the business itself that has an intention that you align yourself with that intention. If I'm like, okay, well, I'm here to do good, show me what I need to do, then that's what becomes my intention for the business.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I don't see, I'm kind of where you are, Sue, in that I never intended to do any of this. None of this was on my list. But the universe, you know, because there's like a master plan supposedly that we signed up for when we jumped into this life. And sometimes I ask myself frequently, what was I thinking when I did that? But you know, so I think to a certain degree, you're probably the same. Like at some point, like before you came in, you decided that you were gonna do this. And so the universe has been driving you towards it, just like it's driving me towards whatever I need to do. So even though it seems like I really want to do this, like you've kind of already decided that you're going that way. And so even though now that you're alive and you're trying to figure stuff out, you're like, why am I going this way when I thought I wanted to go this way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's like, and so the difficulty is going to be that you haven't figured out yet, and just like I haven't figured out yet, like what is it we're supposed to be doing here when this seems easier?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like this seems like the direction we should go, but everything is directing us this way.
Mm-hmm.
So according to all the shamans that I've trained with, it's better for you if you just go the way you want to go.
Yeah.
Because the way that you think you should go will probably come back around and integrate later in some way.
Right. That's what I figured. But it's like, so how do I set intentions for this business that is actually driving me? You know?
Well, you can just say, like, you know, I set the intention that that things will become clearer, that the path will become more clear, that the people that I need to help me in this direction will manifest, that, you know, will step forward, you know, stuff like that, so that so that the people that will help you make sense of it will start to show up.
Okay, got it.
You know, kind of like what we did this weekend, right?
I mean, totally, right? Like it was so funny. Saturday, I was, you know, I had an eventful day on Saturday. And on Sunday, literally, I just talked to practitioners all day long. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, universe, how is this going to work? You know, like I love these events. Like I totally enjoy them. I love showing up. I want to keep doing it, want to keep getting better. But like, how is this going to work? Like, how am I supposed to show up to these places? You know? And then I started getting gifts from other practitioners. I got like 4 beautiful gifts. And I'm just like thinking, okay, thank you, universe. Like I get that you're hearing me. So it was really nice, you know, but it was like, how do you set intentions for something like this?
Yeah, that's how, like, you set the intent that the things and the people that you need will start to step forward for you, and you'll start to meet the right people at the right time, and somebody will say something to you and you'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's the answer I've been looking for, or yeah, that's a great idea, why didn't I think of that? Like all these little things will start to come together.
Yeah. And when I started last year, when I decided, right, that's the first thing, decide that this is what you're going to do, the rest will come later. And so when I decided to start helping mystics in their metaphysical businesses, I wanted to build a product that was going to be meaningful to them. And this is a story I tell quite frequently because it's about focus. And when I was pulling cards every day, trying to talk to spirit, going, what do I do next? What's the energy for me today? What do I need to know? And through those cards, I would get the messages. And the messages were always very encouraging, you know, saying, you know, do what brings you joy and keep moving forward. And I'm like, keep moving forward with what? Well, okay, whatever is giving me joy right now, I'm going to keep moving forward with it. And for me, it was about, first I was creating digital tarot spreadsheets for those who like to throw cards and record them, and then also keep them, retain them privately. And then suddenly it was like, oh, well, what if I want to record these every day? What would that look like? Do I add a calendar to that? So I would start to do that. And as I did that, I kept pulling cards and I started to get really excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going somewhere with this now. All right, Spirit, what's up ahead? What's up ahead? And Spirit kept just saying, head down, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, just keep moving forward. And then there would be, the moments where I'd ask myself, all right, well, this is fine, but in order to branch out, I need to find community. So I remember in August saying to Spirit, all right, universe, I need to find a community. What does that look like? And it was hilarious because MeWe came about, Awkwardly Zen came about, and then the Elks Club here in Seattle came about. And it's like, oh my God, all these people I can talk to. Where do I start? Where do I start? And so from there, then I started to discern which energy I wanted to partake in and how I wanted to spend that energy and with whom I wanted to spend that energy. And so I just played with that all fall, all winter, and then into the spring and made a couple of false starts. That's okay. It's what we do. But again, it's going back to Spirit and saying, is this the right thing? And if Spirit says, no, this isn't the right thing, listen. I wasn't listening. And so I got tripped up a couple of times, but I was heading in the right direction, but just with the wrong people. So keep mindful of that. And then of course, for me, then it was about understanding what my vision and mission was. And yeah, I've worked with small businesses before with their websites and this, that, the other. And I just felt like my mission was superficial. I didn't feel like there was a lot of gravitas and grounding in that mission until Spirit kept saying, you need to help people find courage. And a lot of it is people who have been through dysfunctional families, right? Growing up with narcissism and things like that. And so now I realize that I'm like, I don't want to be a counselor. I don't want to work with narcissists. That's not my intention. That's not where I want my energy to go. What I recognized finally is that I don't have to be a counselor to the narcissist. What I can do is talk about my experience in the chaos, the family chaos growing up. And what I did was to use making, let it be illustrating, let it be sewing, let it be playing a musical instrument, using any of those forms of media to self-heal. And then now I can talk about the healing process and what does that look like? So, then it's a matter of sharing, okay, well, the intention is to be mindful of your energy. Don't give it away to the people who are tapping in and trying to steal from you, like energy vampires and things like that. And then moving forward with, okay, now that I know what my boundaries look like, now I know what my aura feels like, now I know how to put up my shields. Now mixed in with okay, my vision is to help people find the courage to co-create. And my mission then is to help them through various workshops, sessions like this, and other things that are coming up for us. And so when you finally figure out that purpose, right, and understanding there are lots different facets of that purpose, and then talking with Spirit to figure out what that looks like for you. Once I finally acquiesced, once I finally gave in and said, okay, I don't have to be all of that to the narcissistic survivors. I can be all of this and just make one sentence touching on that and then bringing the energy over to talk about making and healing and all the things I love doing. So then suddenly all the pieces just start falling into place this last month.
Can I say something?
Please.
So mission right now feels like a huge word. In fact, I've had to say surrender. It's like, okay, it's okay. Wherever we're going, let's just go. So mission doesn't fall into my equation right now, and which is very, some days disorienting because I was very purpose driven, right? It's where I'm going, where am I driving the bus to?
Yeah, I get that totally because I'm always like, okay, we're going to plan this. This is how it's going to go. This is my list, right? I'm
Yes.
checking it off and I'm doing all this stuff. Yeah. With this kind of stuff, there is no list. You know, just like in what was it? The Keanu Reeves movie, there is no spoon. It's the same thing, right?
I mean, there are days where like I wake up, right? Like I have a plan for the week. I'm like, okay, I have 5 days before the next event. I have to do this, 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 this. I wake up and I'm just a potato. Like, that's it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same thing. Like, you know, you just have to tell spirit, you know what? This is what I need to get done. However that happens, I don't care as long as it's done by the time I need it. And you know what? Somehow, you know, even with all the stuff I have going on personally, like stuff actually happens. Like, I don't know how. I'm like, okay, you know, and that's the other part too, is like, you know, when you're running up against something that seems to be, you know, like literally you're banging your head up against it. Sometimes the thing to do is just to let go of it, just surrender it. Like you know, if you believe in God or whatever your higher power is, you just surrender to it and just be like, okay, you know what? This is what I need to happen. You figure out how it happens and just step away from it.
Mhm.
And like, I can't tell you how many times, even another friend of mine, she tells me the same thing. She goes, you know, I just basically just handed over to God and said, you figure it out. And then she, you know, and then she like drops it. And she's like, and it works out every single time.
Mhm.
So it's that thing where, you know, because of the fact that we're so used to controlling everything, that is the thing that's actually getting in our way.
That's our ego.
Yeah. So we need to like let go of it, which is really hard.
It's see, that's the thing, right? Like initially I was really hard on myself because I thought it was my ego, but then it wasn't. It was just like I didn't know how to surrender.
Mm.
I had to learn to surrender.
Mhm.
That
Because we're not used to it. We're
lesson.
used to fighting for everything.
Yeah, really.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So that's the
Okay.
thing. So you just need to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, folks, it is 6:59. Who wants to stick around for a free energy reading? It'll be a mini reading, a 2-card reading. Ah, Susie does. All right. All right,
awesome.
Jacqueline, Sue, Valerie, or Melinda, you want to raise your hands? Let me know. I've got a couple names. Awesome, Valerie. Melinda, how about you? Your name's in the bowl. Should I take your name out of the bowl? Oh, you do. Okay, fabulous. All right. All right, so we got names in here that are all crunched up, and I am just going to la 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 la. All right, Spirit, who should I? Energy. Oh, we got a pop out. All right, I love poppers. All right, Sue, you get a free energy reading. Yay! Okay,
Yay!
so what I want to share with all of you is that I've created energy oracle cards for your business, and this is I talk about how I launch things messy. This actually is an incomplete set. I'm going to add one more. It's going to be ether. And what I've done is I've taken the energies, earth, air, water, and fire over here. And what I've done is I've structured business aspects, right? The functions of your business under each element. So for earth, right, we've got resources, tools, and revenue. For air, we've got strategy, marketing, and communications. For water, we've got relationships with your customers, partners, and even yourself. And then lastly, we've got fire, which is creativity, courage, forging your products and services. And ether is going to be about space and spirit and purpose. Yes, Kai.
Should we talk about what we're gonna do in the next session before you do that?
We could do that. That sounds like a fine plan. Okay, so before, Sue, I give you your reading, in 2 weeks, same time, same bat channel, the series will continue with metaphysics in your business and working with shields. So, Kai, do you want to run down a couple of bullets on what that might include?
Well, we're gonna talk about why you would use shielding, And then where I'm actually going to teach you how to do shielding in a basic kind of way. And then we're going to talk about other methods as well, and why you would use a shield to protect your business. And you know, all the different ways that you can create shields, again, why you need them, why you would want to, why you even think about them, and why they're important. Because when it comes to business and you're dealing with energy, part of it is, yes, you set the intention. The next step is to then preserve that atmosphere that you've worked so hard to build. So shields are really important for that, and they're super easy, and they protect you from many things, not just you know, strange customers or anything like that. I say they cover excuse me, the gamut for other metaphysical nasty things as well. So we're going to cover that next time.
Yeah. And Kai also has an online course. It's a pretty quick course to get through, but it's invaluable. So you can find that on her website as well. I took it and I am so grateful I did. It's pretty inexpensive too. So it's just a drop in the bucket to learn how to do your own shielding, as well as participating in 2 weeks to join us and learn personally from Kai some of the nuances that happen in that. So yeah, thank you very much, Kai. I am so grateful that you are doing this with me, and I hope everyone here learned something today. With a show of hearts, can you tell us, can you share with us that you learned something and you loved hanging out with us today? I would love to know. Sue, that's awesome. Yay. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Valerie. So, all right, fantastic. You know where Mystic Maker's portal is, so be sure to RSVP for your seat. If you want to get on my email list, please send me your email address. If you're not on it already, go ahead and send it to me privately. That's fine too, just to make sure that you don't miss anything. And I'm going to go ahead with the energy reading. Is everybody cool with that? Okay. So the way I do it, I like jumpers, but Sue, I'm going to ask the angels, ancestors, spirits, and guides what energy you should be focusing on today. So thank you, angels. Thank you, guides. Oh, I feel them coming up behind me. Okay, great. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you, angels. What does Sue need to concentrate on? 3, do you want to pick a card for me? Come on. Come on. I know we've struggled. Come on. Come on. Anytime now. I like a jumper. You know I like jumpers. Come on, spirit. Don't make me pull out the pendulum. Don't make me pull out the pendulum. I will pull out the pendulum. Come on. No jumpers? We're pulling out the pendulum. Okay, let's do this.
Cannot drive the bus. You just have to let the bus be driven.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Is it this energy? You're not sure. Is it this energy? No. Is it this energy? No. Is it this energy? Yes. Resounding yes. Okay. Sue, the card chosen is water. It's about relationships with customers, partners, and yourself. So what I love to do is I have a dedicated deck over here. It's the 5-cent tarot. And with water, what I've done is I've separated out all of the suits. So all the suits for water are collected, and make sure up here. All right. So angels, ancestors, spirits, and guides. What does Sue need to know about water? Maybe I need to, oh, there we go. We have the Page of Cups. So the keywords on here are curiosity, possibility, and imagination. Now, normally what I do when I do readings is I pull them all upright. And then what I will do is add a caveat. So if the card were to show up in reverse, those words would include irresponsibility, envy, and immaturity. So you've got a lot going for you with your curiosity and your possibilities and your imagination. So I love the questions that you asked tonight. I loved that you are thinking of the possibilities and the options for what's coming next. Just make sure that you're not entertaining envy of other people, other practitioners. But if you do, then maybe it's a matter of taking another look at the services that you offer, and how can you infuse then your spirit, your muse into what you're offering your clients. Does that make sense?
I don't know about the envy part, because I have right now the state where I am with, I'm like more fascinated and like awed by the stuff that I've seen people do.
Yeah.
So the envy kind of throws me off a little bit, because I have so much respect for all the practitioners. Like,
yeah, and envy may not necessarily be about a certain practitioner. It may be where they are in life. It's like, oh, well, they're more successful and I want to be there. That kind. And I'm not saying you're feeling that. I'm just saying, just kind of watch out for that.
I mean, I would love to have a mission and a purpose. That is true.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Well, I offer courses on that. So if you're interested, let me know. But yeah, no, I mean, the Page of Cups is wonderful because you are all about curiosity and possibility and imagination. So if you use those three in tandem, and keep your options open, working with spirit and not worrying about how it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. You bet. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I am so delighted that you stuck around and asked a few questions, and I can't wait to do the second series with you, Kai. Working with shields. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I love
It's gonna be fun.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today as we talked about how to work with energy for your business. Again, if you want to join us while we tape, head to Mystic Makers Portal on Meetup to grab a seat while it's free. The link will be in the description box. The next session is Tuesday, September 6th. The time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to save, share, and subscribe to CoCreate Magic so you don't miss it. Until next time, stay magical.